Nobody else dances with me, Ryan. Thank you. I love this song.
And we are live. Welcome to the show, people. Welcome to another awesome episode of Link Completers. Where I have my amazing guest, Lisa Kinski.
I'm the guest now. Thank you.
Oh, guest, co-host. Oh my God. See, I was about to start interviewing you.
I work with you.
Yeah. We do have an amazing guest today, though. Ryan Cramer of Ping Pong Payments. And we've known him for a while now. He has some awesome stories, comes with a great background in e-commerce, understands supply chain very thoroughly, surprisingly enough. So welcome to the show, Ryan.
Let's get you at it.
Love it to be here.
Wow.
I'll talk. If you just want to hear a talking voice, I'll be the talking voice all day. It's fine with me. But yeah,
no, we need the floating head too.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, of course. And thanks for coming on. You're a busy guy. We see you all over the place. 5 shows a week with CrossoverCommerce, doing, I'm sure, a bunch of partnerships and brand stuff with Ping Pong. How do you manage?
Yeah, this week is only 4 live shows, but I'm doing a webinar today, so that's like
only
2 people.
4.
Only 4. Well, yeah, people are like 2's a lot or 1's a lot, and I go, but why? Like, I mean, so this is the delicate balance, right? Partnerships. My job is partnerships, business development, brand ambassador. It's a little bit of everything, especially when you're a thin, mean machine. Like you have to wear many hats. I've done it. Like I've had to speak last night at a $1 billion seller summit with Kevin King. Like, he said, give me your best content, what you can do to people who are selling anywhere from $10 million on Amazon to $500 million annual revenue on Amazon. And I had to look at myself and I go, what are you doing? like these people are so successful. And like in theory, they're like very successful people and like know what they're talking about, but they don't know everything, right? Like, and that was the thing how I started my podcast was, you don't know everything. You have a different perspective than somebody who might be listening to. And there's always at least one person that walks away and says, great content. Like you pulled something out of a guest that no one even knew. And then that you bring value to that person. So ultimately that's the point. You become a trusted source of, education, just like get away from work. Cause no one wants to like sit at a computer screen all day. Like you either want to listen to content. That's why Clubhouse is popular. You just want to know about stuff, absorb information. And I think that's why entrepreneurs are so successful is they're constantly trying to learn more information. Even though they might know something, it might be a different lens that you look through it. And I'm always like, oh shit, like that is awesome. I never thought about it that way. So then you can start building 1% better each day. And then you look at yourself a year ago where we were today and you're like, I don't even recognize that person. So yeah, it's a cool thing. It's part of my partnership growth strategy. It's part of building a brand, but it's also building yourself as pushes yourself out of the box, right? I haven't been on a stage in front of thousands and thousands of people for an e-commerce conference. I've done it for other things, but I haven't done it to speak on something that I'm passionate about. So that being said, it's kind of like this like baby step into when we eventually get back to seeing people in person. Like then we can start sharing like stories like this and how we can grow networking, so on and so forth.
And we're actually going to be able to carry on conversations. Unlike a lot of people, I feel that just stay at home and they don't talk to anyone. Everything's through text or again, they're just taking in information. They're not really talking back to it. So no, I'm excited. I mean, we just launched. So I'm glad that we have you on as a guest so you can actually keep us true to our nature of talking.
Yes, it's truly an honor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? It's just like podcast is like, it's not dead air. It's just like, what do you want to get from that person? Like, what's one thing you guys want to get from me, this thing or that guest? And I just want to pull that information and I won't stop until I get it from them. Like they can't fight me for it. If it's, hitting a wall, sometimes like you'll get guests. Like I've had to cut people short, like half an hour short than I expected. I'm like, you're just not in a mood to share, and that's fine. But that's not what podcasting is about, right? Like people are listening to this. They can't see me most often. Like on YouTube, this is the beautiful thing is like you can see people's faces. But on regular podcasts, you can't see what people are looking like or like their expressions or their demeanor. And if they just aren't going to give you info, why would you continue like struggling people along. Like there's a time for everything. I've had as long as 2 hours long. That was Stephen Black, and he just had so much information to share because he has so much experience, 15 years of how to launch products, test products. And I just said, man, I'm going to let you talk. I'm not going to cut you off. Why would I do that? If you're just willing to share all the way. But if you have people closed off, that's all you can do is like get what you can out of them and come up with some side questions. If you ruffle through your desk, you're like, what inspired you to become an entrepreneur? And really struggle, like high level, like generic stuff. I mean, there's other stuff. I get targeted for ads all the time now because you guys, I'm sure, will on Instagram or whatnot. Like, be a podcaster, or here's some extra things that can help you on your podcast journey. And you just kind of get ideas from other places and pick brains from other people just through listening to stuff. So it's fun. Yeah.
When I started researching like what equipment we needed and what, like streaming platforms to use and stuff like that, I immediately was marketed everywhere. And we just launched the YouTube channel on the 1st. Today is the 3rd. And I've already had somebody in my LinkedIn DM saying, you only have 12 subscribers. You can't monetize with that few. And I'm like, it's been 3 days. First of all, give us some time. Second of all, we don't want to monetize.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is because they know that they know the demographic. And this is a statistic that I heard from every like entity out there. Like as many podcasts technically exist out there, only so many last after like 30 episodes or like 20 episodes. It's like a special, very low threshold mark that people just like run out of content or people to talk to. And then they just stop producing, consistently. And that's the key is like, I heard consistently across the board and I go, I'm going to take consistently and shove it up there. You know what? And like, I'm going to say like, people are going to get sick of me. And it's like both a good and bad thing. Like people joke about it, but then you're like, is it too much? Is it a lot? But then like, I've never heard like too much backlash from it. That's actually a good thing, I think.
I don't think that it's too much. And at I'm a deeply persistent person. Francois can tell you, I pester people to get what I want or need. But the CEO at the company that I worked for previously said, he was like, I want somebody to call me and tell me that their salesperson is calling them too often. I want a customer to call me pissed that Lisa has called them every Tuesday for the last however long. Like I want them to be mad. So I think it's great because it keeps you in the forefront. You've built like such a name and such an audience for yourself. Like, yeah, keep doing 5 days a week. I mean, so long as the wife and son are okay with it too, you know?
Yeah, well, she went back in person, like, because recently, like, she got the vaccine, like, both doses. Super happy for that. She and the little guy are at school. Like, he's at school 4 days a week. Like, here in Indiana, it's not terribly, like, locked down. I mean, we're super, like, stay at home whenever we don't need to go out, like, necessity. But I'm at home until, like, 2 o'clock most days. So, like, my mornings are, like, what am I going to do? I just walk around and, like, well, I'm busy doing other stuff, but they're not here. So it's like, how much can I pack in from 8 a.m. Eastern time to, 2 p.m. And then he comes home, then I shuffle off stuff and then I'm up late at night talking to people on the other side of the world. So it's this weird, beautiful cycle that you can block off your calendar and say like, this is family time. I'll keep it public and people will know. Why do you block off 2 hours? I'm going to say, I'm going to see my family and have dinner with them. Like, this is why we work. Like, why wouldn't I do that? So yeah, it's like a beautiful balance, right? I'm still struggling with it. Because you always want to like, how do I grow our brand? How do I meet more people? How do we network? But it's always like an endless task list of you can do more things. You can like stay up late. And last night I was just fidgeting I told Lisa this before we started with Clubhouse that I just started because I got an iPad for, I don't know why, what's wrong with me. Right. And then, like,
as if you don't have enough on your plate.
Well, I just sat there and listened to another chat or a talk for like an hour of just like Damon John from Shark Tank talking about like supplier logistics. And I was like, oh, this kind of like intrigues me and other people are chipping in. And then you got to like the pitchy stuff of like, I want to send you a gift. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, don't come on. Like, this is cool to a context of like, I might be invited on stage and like you can talk to somebody who's like, Elon Musk, who's been on there. Like, I know Bill Gates has been on there, Damon John, which is pretty popular. I mean, it's pretty cool that people are interacting in that way. I always thought from the get-go it's like a glorified conference call. Like, is it not? It's like you're just putting an icon to a person, right?
That's but what we started using it for. Like we have, team members in California and then my boss Chuan here. And we're just like, well, what's the difference between us just hopping on this? We all have the app already. What's the difference between us hopping on this and hopping on like Google Meets, where we have to create a link, we have to share a calendar invite, everyone has to, accept the invite, they have to go to that link, they have to be on their computer. It's like, well, why not just hop on Clubhouse? Which is, I guess, what a lot of other people also use it for. But now I'll browse through it and just find like some cool and interesting stuff. But I don't know. And tell me your opinion. But I feel like a lot of people that go on there also blow smoke. And they do it just so they can just like either create content or because they learned it from a course. And so they think that they could teach it. But a lot of what I hear just doesn't really change with the times also. Like they will try to do business as usual. During the pandemic, for example, a lot of businesses wanted to do business just as usual. And they just wanted to, keep sending RFQs and keep doing lower orders. And they think that suppliers should respond within just a few days. And hey, this is what I learned in my course. It's not going to change. What's your take on those in Clubhouse that try to talk about, like, do you catch anyone that just talks about something that they shouldn't be talking about and they shouldn't be talking about it?
Well, I'll have this caveat. I only listened to one conversation super late at night. And it was simply just talking about supply chain logistics. Yeah, there you go, Francois.
I don't know why
it was just
out.
It's all good. So it was just one conversation that I had and listened to. But I know I see this as a sense of like how they're marketing it. It's like, follow me on Clubhouse, like the content. And then I look at people's profiles. I'm really starting to delve into like how people are pitching themselves, if that makes sense. And that can kind of tell me a couple different things. One, nothing's clickable yet unless it's your social media links, which is driving outward, which is weird that it's not native clickable information. Right. So that's interesting to see that go around that direction. But two, I think that's just another form for people to, if you did a course and you're, trying to educate people to buy something. Yeah, of course. Like I think people at the end of the day want you to, go to one thing or drive a lead or something like that, where you can say there's some sort of value to this. Like I think someone wants to get value out of a platform, if they're going to spend their currency of time on it, if that makes sense. So if you insert currency X, in this case time, you want to receive something Y. And most often than not, that's going to be a lead, a partnership, a connection, something like that. For me, I think it's just kind of like listening to other people's insights. And again, like other people hear ideas and they're like, oh, that's cool, I'm going to use that too. But yeah, smoke up their ass. Like, I think that's what you see on YouTube a lot. I mean, like, again, like that's the YouTube influencer.
The classic YouTube influencer.
Yeah. I mean, like that's the first to market, right? You can spin it however you want. And people are just, for lack of a better term, naive. Again, I don't know everything. I just happen to work for 3 different companies who have like experienced 3 different sorts of customer interactions, and I can like start pivoting my own perspective on things. Do I say like, oh, I'm an 8-figure seller? No, but I've taken a brand, I've sold their products and put it in a channel from 0 to 7 figures the first year and 8 figures the next year back in 2014 on Magento. Like, is that the same thing? Not in lots of people's minds, but it's the same theory. Like you're still bringing in a source of revenue in multiple channels to provide profit for somebody, whether it's yourself or a business. I just happen to do it with other people's products. Like, good for me, right? I didn't have to invest in anything. I was just like, I'm going to sell it on this. I'm going to sell this product today. And I got to cut my teeth early with that. Not a lot of people get to do that, but to go back to your original point, Francois, on Clubhouse, like I want to believe that people are just trying to use this to connect, and like it's not recorded. So it's like the only place you can say, well, I guess you can record it. I haven't figured that out. There are
some that are recorded.
I don't know how they do it. I don't know, but I've seen them, but they all put like recorded with like the little red dot. I don't know how they're doing it though.
It must be like
within the app.
Well,
no, they're writing it within the title of the room. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that, but I want to feel like if it's on your phone, like you can just record the audio if it's playing on speaker, or they're putting it next to something. I'm assuming like, again, maybe like some people have a beta version of they can record on there, but I think that's kind of the allure. Like that's missing the allure of Clubhouse is both because you're missing out if you don't have an Apple product, which something believes that somebody has got some equity in Apple products. Like if they making this much, like they already about valuated at $1 billion recently, and they haven't made a single dollar in advertisement. That's nuts. Yeah. And so like that's a strategic reason, obviously. Reason number 2, I would think, like, you know, those things will eventually come out. That's how Facebook got popular. Make it free to everyone, or selective group of people, obviously, right? It was first if you had a .edu email address. Only if you had a .edu, you would be able to get on Facebook. Then you had to start growing your user base. Then you grow it even more. And then when you got to a free version, then you monetize it with ads. So of course, like that's the trajectory that they will be doing. But there's other platforms that exist, like Twitter, that are going to do the same exact thing. Twitter's creating spaces, which is like you can tweet and talk to your followers again in the same context. So I don't know what's going to be different with that, but you know, people are great copycatters.
Yes. Well, and that was something I'd heard, and actually just looked it up, how to record on Clubhouse. And it is an extra app. You essentially just download screen recording to your control center. So that's what people are doing, is downloading it to their device.
And that's another business adventure that someone developed from another app. Like, yes. Like how many offshoots are you going to get from Clubhouse? Like Clubhouse for like, oh my God, you're going to see at least 10 businesses stem from just this one app. Like it's going to be stupid and bananas. And like, I swear Apple products, they hit that threshold. They went and it got majority sharehold back from Android devices because of, I swear to God, Clubhouse. Like you see in Q4 when Clubhouse launched, that's when you saw iPhone. Well, apart from launching other products, of course, but people are like, oh, I bought an iPad or iPad just because of this. Like, I swear that's the reason. Like there is a synergy between not just this, but like how you partner with your app rollouts. If it could be big, that could be it. You start thinking about it in a business sense of that. And it's crazy how you partner and align with things. It drives business one way or another. And like Lisa said, you know, people are developing businesses off of the ideas that just started a few months ago, which is nuts.
Well, yeah, I'd be interested to see also how the used iPhone and used iPad sales have gone. I'm sure eBay is seeing some massive. I mean, that's Lisa. We got you a used iPhone just because it's like, hey, what else? Lisa vowed that she will never use an iPhone or an Apple product ever. And now she's on an iPhone because she has to get on Clubhouse.
Yeah. Well, I haven't. Yeah. All Android. Yeah. Lisa, like you said, I said that before this, I made my company. I asked my company, I was like, hey, people are talking. This is the next valuation, right? You're on there for like fear of missing out. Like, what does that mean for listeners? If you're not on Clubhouse, this is why I tip, because I was like, screw it. Like I'm on live every day. Like I talk to people every day. Why do I need something else to talk to? But then you start seeing people like follow me. Like, is this a cool thing? Like I saw it in December. I saw the trend coming. I searched for it and I was like, there's no app that exists like this. This is something stupid. One person's going to say it. And then it starts to snowball. And then people are like, all right, now I'm on it. Got to see what it is. And then people keep asking me on like Facebook Messenger, hey, are you on Clubhouse? Someone was asking about your business and no one knew how to answer that question. I go, God damn it. All right. So I screenshot that conversation, start putting it in folders. And then once I had like at least 2 or 3, I sent that to my boss and I go, all right, 1 to 2 ways. I'm not buying an iPhone for this because I don't have an iPhone. I can get an iPad for $350, $400, the lowest amount. Just need Wi-Fi. Just give me Wi-Fi and I can start using this for business development reasons. And they're like, yeah, no problem, whatever. I mean, like that's an investment, but like once you start, your brand starts getting thrown in there and you can't talk about it, then that's an issue. So
yeah, that's kind of exactly what we did, except I didn't make the case for me being on Clubhouse. They made the case for me being on Clubhouse.
She made the anti-case, actually. She went the opposite direction. Hey, we're doing a bunch right now. What do we need this Clubhouse thing for?
Well, it's the same thing with like entrepreneurs, right? Like you have to pick and choose where you want to win your battles and fight your battles. This just happens to be like where a lot of people are conversing on. And will it stick around? I don't know. Like that's not for me to tell. If people get bored with it, they'll just go away. But it's where business is happening right now. And so I think in our industry, when you have to ebb and flow so quickly, like we're in the speedboat, right? We can like make changes quickly. other like major corporations have to like, they're in the Titanic, right? You have to like, oh, I see it down the way, but we have to slowly turn our boat and you might like hit the iceberg. Like that we're in a very easy way. Entrepreneurs, especially if you're Amazon seller, you can like, oh, this doesn't work. All right, turn over here. Like, let's go with the flow over here. So it's kind of those tricky things of how are people doing business, and you want to be in that realm so that you're not missing out either. Like, again, it could spike up like an Instagram or TikTok. I mean, like TikTok. I mean, all these things are still popular and they're growing. It's just, if you don't have the bandwidth either, you as human capital, how much can you spend on all those different platforms and make yourself like valuable in those platforms? That's the struggle I think a lot of people encounter as well.
I would agree 100%. And I think, and like some of the platforms that you mentioned earlier, like the Instagram and the TikTok and stuff like that, a lot of those are adapted and used every single day by the younger generations. Yeah. And I say that to mean Gen Z, like even, you know, younger than us. But every person that I've like, all of my, like my friends didn't know what Clubhouse is. My parents don't know what Clubhouse is. My cousins, my nieces, and they're like, why do you have two phones now? What is Clubhouse? I'm like, how have y'all not heard of it? But it's this enormous thing over in business. So I don't know to me, it's almost gotten like too big, too quick. And it's, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if it was just kind of like a star, like burn bright, burn fast, and burn out. But it may not. Yeah. But one of the reasons I'd heard a rumor that one of the reasons that the only two things that are clickable within there are Instagram and Twitter is because they were looking to those businesses to buy Clubhouse, because like obviously the platform needs help with expansion because they launched with, which that's a good point of having, you know, a vested interest in Apple. But the idea was that they had launched with Apple first because they had less users, and they're already having an issue handling the number of users that they have. I mean, it crashes out, it kicks people out. So they're obviously going to need some sort of help expanding.
I think it's 10 employees still, like 10. Like really? Think about that. It was something crazy. Like now what I heard when they evaluated their business, like of course, like that's funding to like build out your server space. I mean, there's a lot of technicality where I can see like you're handling not just video streaming all at once, but just audio, which is way less because video is more, you know, bandwidth. It's tougher on your network, but audio is a little bit less. But still, if you have hundreds of people in these offshoot groups that are constantly talking all at once and it's 24/7, you're talking about a load issue that is probably up there with like any sort of cell phone carrier. Like think about that. Like you need a cell phone tower and a network of how many different towers to just handle all the inbound and outbound messaging. I mean, they have messaging, they have audio format, and it's constantly live. So you can hear them in real time. It's not a delayed component. So that, can you message like your contacts?
No, I think you can reach out to them and you could start a private room.
Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe I saw something different and I confused myself. Again, I'm a novice. I'm like less than 24 hours in here, but
you already know more than me within 24 hours.
Well, and this is like the scary thing. I feel like my wife's the reader. I'm the like absorb everything and disseminate as quickly as possible. Like read, scan a bunch of different things, make a quick opinion, and I can kind of like not pull things out, but I can pull out pretty high level stuff quickly. And that's business, right? To make sure that there's value in it. But what this is, I mean, just with this kind of platform of sharing information, yeah, it's fantastic. But like, I think they said 10 people or 10 employees. It's something crazy. Like, I mean, a lot of it's done by yourself. Like you build out the system, as long as you can maintain the load. That'd be interesting to see down the road, like where, like if someone buys them, or if it's like you said, Lisa, too fast, too quick, burns out quickly, and people just kind of abandon. I mean, you can almost say that with like the aggregators in our e-commerce space, right? Like everyone's jumping on board, you're coming on quick and heavy, and all this money's being thrown around. Who's going to last, right? Like that's a conversation I've been having with people, is who's going to last. More often than not, you're going to see one of these five major players, the people who've raised the most money, probably burn out, to be honest with you. Like they won't be able to keep up. They will not be able to maintain with the equity, or they won't be able to attract the talent and growth that they promised. And they'll have to either sell those off or just kind of like merge with another entity. So that being said, like you're seeing Clubhouse happen. I think Android had some sort of version with like drop-in audio or something stupid like that. And Twitter's now again developing that. So we'll see how long it stays around. But in the meantime, it's kind of it started with Black business owners. I think that's how this eventually first started. Like it got popular with business owners, like I said, conference calls, talking with people on that. And then Amazon people took it over, and then like business people took it over, and like a bunch of other people just found value in it. So we'll see. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting that you were mentioning the e-commerce space. I mean, definitely, I see a lot of it with Amazon. I don't see too much of it with like Walmart Marketplace, or, I mean, Shopify has its own community, but that's its own separate community. You don't really see them integrated too much with Amazon. And so someone that's like an Amazon business, it is specifically Amazon PPC. It is not Google SEO or SEM. It's not WooCommerce or BigCommerce. Kind of like, Jungle Scout, Helium 10, Viral Launch, which I know you were with Viral Launch for a while. Yep. But why do you think it is that they don't integrate together? Is it just because Amazon has such a big piece of the pie? We're just like, well, fuck it. Why would I do anything else? We have enough users here.
Yeah. So I think I understand your question. You're talking about like, why is Amazon just Amazon only? Or like, why is almost like, well, if you think about the user base, it's hundreds of thousands of sellers that are going off. And then you have service providers that are specifically handling the space. Like it's almost its own little niche. Like, to be honest with you, I don't know of any group that's like Walmart.com sellers unite or anything like that. Like, I don't think anything out there exists right there. But it's almost like this. I think why it's quote unquote a community more so than ever, because people have probably either done it or done a version of it and cut their teeth on Amazon. And it's almost like a loyalty thing. Like, hey, we cut our teeth in the Amazon space and it's treated us well. Like it's almost like an undying loyalty to an Amazon business. Like I've been multiple service providers that provided for e-commerce sellers help online. And again, that was at first eBay. That was like different marketplaces around the world. I just think that there's so much equity that is being thrown at Amazon right now, like how to differentiate yourself, how to grow. If you're a brand on Amazon, off Amazon, trying to get on Amazon, there's just so much opportunity that people would just rather focus on one area, get really freaking good at it, and then be that go-to person. Like there's too much. Like you guys, I always ask like logistics. Like I don't know all the details. Like I only know what I'm good at. Logistics, how to get my goods to point A to point B. I know where to go from that. Like there's just too much information for me to figure out myself to go down those paths and say like, here's a knowledgeable answer. Like, could I bullshit it? Of course. Like I could say, oh yeah, like you need a 3PL and this is how you get it there. Like,
just watch enough YouTube videos.
Yeah. I'll watch your guys' YouTube videos and then I'll just like write my own article and like say, look, I know everything. But no, it's like, why I don't have the connections. I don't know. I haven't done it. But I feel like the Amazon group, to your point, Francois, is if you're looking at it from that perspective, I feel like there's just too much information and constant change. Like if you try to diversify and grow everyone together, like, for a fact that Walmart.com people, like it's not the same thing. It's like Shopify is not the same thing. It's its own entity. So I think that's why people kind of like really hone in on their like area and kind of stick to it. Like high level stuff, of course, like everyone's doing keyword research, optimizing listing, ABC content, PPC, like everyone wants to talk about this stuff. Like, but so many people are. What makes you different? And so that's what, people are constantly going, how long have you been in the space? And I've seen this and this, and this is what I'm constantly checking out. But it's that like colleague thing. Like you're almost like a doctor, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, like we did this research study, and like you can start making judgments based upon other research studies and whatnot. So it's just growing quite constantly, and you have to get good at one thing and stick with that. And I think you're going to be a profitable either entrepreneur or service, to be honest with you.
And I guess also to that point, it's being in America, we always think, oh, it's just in America, but it's international, right? And they're expanding into, the EU. We have the UK that's changing everything up with Brexit and changing logistics, changing inbound orders, how Amazon could fulfill in the EU. I mean, like, what are your thoughts on just international expansion with Amazon? Do you see any forecasts in the next few years? I know ping pong is huge in the e-commerce space. I'm sure you have some insights that others don't.
Yeah, I have a couple stats that I can throw out your guys' way. But yeah, we started in the United States, grew in China in terms of like our business, like ping pong. Like someone said, "Are you the CEO of ping pong?" And I go, no. I just talk the most. Like,
but you are the face of ping pong. Absolutely.
Well, like somehow someone made me the face of ping pong, but here we are. Yeah, so our company has like been around 6 years, and I love talking about our competition too because they've been around like 15 years, but they're doing crazy things like lending, business to consumer. They're doing their own credit cards, like they're doing a little bit of everything now, and a lot of them got acquired. Like actually in the last month, like Payoneer, competitor of ours, just was acquired and silly valuated at like $3.5 billion. TransferWise is now rebranded to Wise. WISE, which everyone's like, oh, that's their moniker for when they go public. And they're doing something like some crazy number every single year in terms of like cross-border payments, sending and receiving. And then ping pong is another one. Like, I mean, there's like an OFX, there's like World First. There's a lot of them out there, but there's I would say 5 that are like really, really solid in the space. And we're one of them because we grew with our Chinese sellers first and then worked almost backwards. If you think about it, like I say backwards because a lot of people are like, we're starting in the United States and go outward, like internationally. We start in the United States, moved operations over to China, became really big with Asia sellers, and then like worked through Europe. And now it's India, South Korea, and then the United States are big markets of growth right now. So lots of people, lots of sellers, things like that. My predictions, or I should say, where a lot of people tout, and like even most recently on Clubhouse, I'll go back to Clubhouse. My former boss, Casey Goss, now works with Thrasio. He touts international growth. If I were a seller, grow from the United States and just selling in the US, I'm going to grow internationally first on Amazon instead of on Shopify. And I couldn't agree with more. I think like that's a big thing that people are not thinking about and they just don't understand. I think international is not sexy yet, but it will be. And this is why. It's the things like Brexit that are just like you as, again, there's so much information coming at people. You don't want to learn it. You just like, it's time, it's effort that you don't have time to dedicate to understanding what does Brexit mean for your business? How does that change how I get my goods to Europe? Does that mean I should send my goods to both Europe and the UK or Europe and the UK? So now I'm sending like goods to the Netherlands now to get fulfilled in Germany or the Pan-European program, as well as the UK. And the UK is like literally it's on its own island now. Like it is an island, but it's owned by itself. It doesn't have networking or trade partners or anything like that right now. So is it worth it? What is VAT? What's GST? Like I don't know those things. Like, so I'm gonna just avoid it. And that's the business decision that could make or break your brand when you exit. The first thing that international aggregators do, like a Thrasio or a Elevate brands will do when they buy your brand, if you're not already on international marketplaces, you instantly get turned and put there. Like if you're not in Canada, you're in Canada. If you're not in the UK or Germany, you're in Germany. You look to grow in the third largest marketplace on Amazon right now is Japan. And there's too many eyeballs. It's a silly amount of eyeballs that are on Amazon Japan.jp, and not a lot of sellers are there yet. And that's the crazy opportunity, is that if you're looking at just pure eyeballs, I think Amazon.com is like 6 billion per month. I think in Japan it's like 1.2 or 2 billion. So it's a third of the eyeballs. But then you start thinking about the competition level. There's not it there. So that will continue to grow, but there's other marketplaces internationally like Rakuten, huge with Japanese marketplace. There's Mercado Libre in Central and South America. They don't have an Amazon right now. Like once that becomes viable and Amazon goes in Central and South America, awesome. Look out. You're going to take over Central and South America, which is a couple billion, like 1 billion, billion and a half. At least Brazil is close to that amount. I want to say that's an estimate. Just like the Middle East, like UAE, we just recently became able to receive the dirham. So even though the marketplace is small in terms of size, the buying power is unreal. So you're talking about like luxury goods, like really high end materials or like goods, like put it yourself in that marketplace and learn how to localize and translate your listings accordingly. Like good luck. You're going to take over a very rich marketplace in terms of like very high profit area because people can afford it. Like that's where the money is. That's where the market is. Just the world itself is not, it didn't used to catch up yet, but now it has in 2020. Like it's almost like accelerated 5 years to where it should be. And so international has to be a part of your game plan to really grow your business to a point of, I'm either going to be an international entity and I'm going to keep it that way, or if I'm going to exit my business, I can instantly start making myself more valuable for putting my goods in those marketplaces. And then if I do exit, of course, like if I'm doing it right and they want to do it better, of course, I'm going to exit and get a great payday. There's a lot of questions like how do you deal with like currency conversions? Like how do you localize? How do you convert your list or translate your listings? So those are all questions that people just don't have the time or bandwidth to really understand. And that's like where, or getting your goods there. Like you guys are probably get clients all the time. How do I get my goods to UK now? Or where am I putting them? Or do I even deal with that entity? So those are the kinds of things that people are starting to ask more so now. And I think you'll see a lot more international growth with opportunity. Still, .com, place to be. Obviously, that's where all the money's being spent. Americans are crazy. We spend way too much money than more than we have. But we like to spend our money. But like as the world catches up to e-commerce, buying on your phone, you're going to really start to see a shift in like Amazon, but also like marketplaces in general, like the stupid amount of growth that, unlike we've already seen, it will continue to like just double, triple, do crazy multiples.
So you think it's more so a lack of education and content, I'm guessing, just like, hey, how do I get into Germany? How do I get into the UK? How do I handle the differences between the two?
100%. I think people are naive, I think people are like, they want to find reasons to like not learn about something. Like how easy is it to start a business in, the United States? Or like, let me take it back. How difficult is it to get your business up and running in like your first successful product on Amazon? Then you have to like, how am I going to build out a brand on .com? A lot of people think like I have to do the same work or if not more to replicate that same like effort. If I'm doing it myself, I have to do the same thing and do it in a different marketplace. No way. I don't have that power. And then that's not what I'm telling people. There's a lot of people that have done it smartly. All you have to do is just listen and understand that these are the ways to set yourself up at a basic level. You don't have to replicate and do exactly what you're doing in the United States from the get-go. You just have to do a percentage of it. And then if you're growing, if you throw your products into Canada, for example, that's the easiest marketplace to get into. Everyone speaks English. If you're in Quebec and you're speaking French, they have what's called a Google Translate Chrome tab. And that can translate your listing pretty basic. Like there's not a lot of things that it doesn't translate, that Google won't translate your listing already. So you don't even necessarily need to create a whole nother listing. You can have the same listings and you can either apply for a North American Remote Fulfillment Program, which is NARF, and that's fulfilling your goods from FBA warehouse in the United States to someone in Canada or someone in Mexico. You just have to be open and have your market or storefront open for market for .ca and .mx, and you can fulfill there from your FBA warehouse. Like that's the work that's already done. You get a Prime badge, just delays on when it's going to get there. It's not 2 days. It's like more like 7 to 10. Like, of course, like that's a nice way to get introduced there, but you can start there and then you realize, hey, a lot of people are buying my goods in Canada. Maybe I'll throw of my minimum order, like of my goods that I'm going to receive or purchase from my supplier, maybe I'll throw 10% of that in Canada. And like, you don't have to replicate it piece by piece. Like you don't have to do that. You can scale it as needed. So just starting out to see what things are doing. I say testing, that's not always equitable for people, but if you're going to test it, and that's where, and you want to grow your business, that's where you start. You start in the easy marketplaces like Canada or Mexico. Mexico, you can like, I see people more successful in Canada than Mexico. Mexico has its own like culture and lifestyle. Like we're a little bit slower. Like we're going to take it easy. Like if I'm a supplier, it might not be like the quickest turnaround. It might like take our time. And, you know, I mean, it's a little bit more lax lifestyle. I think that's why people go vacation there all the time. So I've never been, but that's why I hear from a lot of businesses. So starting there and then obviously go to Europe, or Australia is a big popular one. Japan is a unique and great opportunity. There's just so many ways, like how do you want to build your brand? But there's, to back to the original point, not enough content, I think, to do it in a creative, like an easy to disseminate way, to like a game plan. Like you said, like there's so many people that will do courses like how to start on .com. That's great. But how do you start on like .ca, or how do you start on .de, or like, which is Germany? I think that's Germany. Or just like UK. Like if you can become a content and education leader in those spaces, you're going to instantly have an opportunity when people start looking for growth.
Well, I just, and so everything that you said, I definitely agree with, but I still don't understand why marketplaces. And I say this because I was just talking to someone from Walmart Canada a few weeks ago, because one of the brands that we do 3PL for are interested in Walmart Canada also. And, you know, they have this huge push for it. And I asked them, well, hey, do you have like a one pager or something that compares it to, if you're already doing business in the US, how do you expand into Walmart Canada? How do you do that easily? And she sent me this one pager, and it was, I'm sorry if she hears this. I hope she hears this, but I'm sorry if she hears this. It was kind of a bullshit one pager. I know she didn't make it. I know someone at Walmart made it, but it was just statistics. And all it was like, well, you know, 40% of, the industry compared to the US in the furniture industry also sells in Canada. And it was just a bunch of statistics, but nothing. Yeah. Well, it was just like, well, that doesn't help me. If I want to sell furniture, like, how do I do? Just tell me how to do it. I would think that would benefit Walmart, or that would benefit Amazon. And then from there, just like creating little pods and kind of like we have mastermind groups amongst all the Amazon sellers and things like that, having like little pods where an Amazon expert from Amazon actually teaches, you know, this larger group of leaders, and, you know, they make some money and then they represent, it kind of sounds like a pyramid scheme actually, now that I describe it like that, but
Amazon is a pyramid scheme. Jeff Bezos recruited all of us and he makes money off of us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a part of it.
You recruit a couple people, and then they're selling, and then they recruit a couple people. It's like, it's not a pyramid scheme. It's like everyone wins, right?
Yeah. I guess that's kind of how you get
Michael Scott solid. Why can't we see this, guys? Come on.
Well, I mean, I guess that's how MLMs actually start. This just happens to be one of the most successful ones. But I guess I still just don't understand. Does Ping Pong have something like that? Do they say, hey, you know, if you're already transacting in the US, this is how it would be different if you're transacting in Canada or Japan, with Japan being one of the more booming industries?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's like, you figure out the hard way, and it's almost like a document that you have to tell people, like, this is how you can change your account information, and this is how you do it to not piss off Amazon or not get yourself shut down. Like, it's a very step-by-step approach of like, we have support staff that will like individually walk you through, like, this is when you do it, like, because if you do it 2 days before you get paid out, Amazon will say, whoa, like, what's going on here? Like, we can't pay out this random thing that we haven't vetted before, and like, they will not pay you out. And that's a no for lots of sellers, or they'll just shut down your international listings and you can't receive funds or sell on those marketplaces, because they're trying to push out bad actors too, just like, I mean, they get all the backlash too, just like everyone else, in terms of like, we don't want to, like, money is the number one thing. Like, people are very like tight about it. Like, I say tight in the terms of like, there's lots of compliance and regulations that no one wants to get in trouble for. So if something like that changes, you instantly have to say, like, hold the brakes. We verify a US bank account, but what's this new account? We have, like, obviously our solutions are legitimate digital bank accounts that you are opening up with like a Chase or Citi or Wells Fargo. Like, those are legitimate banks, right? Like, those things exist. Still, banks exist and physical banks exist. But yeah, those are bank accounts that are held with them that we partner with them that we're opening up on behalf of the seller. We have to verify those people are who they say they are. But working with Amazon, there's ways to obviously walk them through, like, this is how you do it. And then you can have a receiving account in like Canadian dollar. And then this is how you can convert it back in our ecosystem. When you get paid out, you can have it convert and paid out to that account. And then in our ecosystem, convert it whenever you want to the US dollar and then pay out your bank account. Like, it's just another way to like see where everything is holistically. If it's not on Amazon, it could be on your Shopify account. You have this big picture and can see where everything comes into the ecosystem and then goes from there. So we do have ways to like educate in that regards. I think like the broader picture is, how do you piece together the things like localization? How do you get your goods there? How do you make sure that your listings are translated accordingly? And if there's different PPC strategies for different marketplaces, because there is for Japan. Japan has like 4 different PPC strategies. And I did a podcast on it and go, wait, there's 4? Like, you're talking about 4 different languages that you're talking about. Like, there's an English, there's Japanese, there's like, I'm going to butcher it, but there's like almost like a picture way to like target, different products. And I was like, so you have to do the same thing for PPC, but 4 different ways? She said, yeah. And I go, that sounds a lot. And like, my mind was blown. And then people can be like, I don't want to go to Japan anymore because of that. But it just takes time, right? You're talking to a whole different culture. And that's where no one spent the time to just educate, disseminate. And like, this is the best way this is who the Canadian culture is. This is how to best serve them and target them based upon other successful Amazon sellers. And then how to logistically fulfill that and like align with what we said. And same thing with UK, same thing with like Germany, so on and so forth. But there is a need. You see like Poland just launched this week, I think a couple of days ago, like 2 days ago on the 1st. And that was the largest Amazon marketplace launch to date, external of .com. Like sellers, there's like 37,000 sellers already on that platform. I think that's what I saw. So there's opportunity and people want to see it. Like, the eyeballs might not be there yet, but it will continue to grow. Like, it'll catch up. If it's the first time you can buy on Amazon, they're just like, what's this Amazon thing? Like, you start going through the app, it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then like, oh, I get my goods pretty quickly. That's even better. And then I like the way I can get my products or see my products and whatnot. So the world just has to catch up to where we are as a US culture, I think, and like how we are shopping now. Like, we go to Amazon because someone asked me, is Amazon a monopoly? And I said, no, they've done the best way to serve their customers. That's why people think they're a monopoly. They can get your goods to you quicker, more efficiently than any other place. I can go to Best Buy right now in person and I can buy my products from them that day. But if it's not the greatest price and if like the time differentiating like factor was that big of a deal, I'd probably buy it in person, but I can get that same product theoretically in 2 hours. Like, if it's on hand in a fulfillment warehouse near me, I could theoretically do that as well. It doesn't mean that they're a monopoly. It's just, where do we go for convenience and that fits our lifestyle? And we're just like a greedy bunch of people that we want our products now quickly, more than ever. So, but you can go to Rakuten, you can go to Wish, you can go to branded sites on Shopify and still get the same products. People just don't want to do that. Like, they're just not comfortable. They're not used to it. They don't know what, like, if the product's going to show up 7 or 10 days, like, they don't know if they're going to get free shipping. Like, there's a lot of don't knows in there. So I think that's why people are like, I'm going back to like my old boyfriend, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're kind of dating around and you're like, I don't know if like I want to like be in a relationship with you and trust you, because I don't know if you're going to like go behind my back and, cheat on me or something like that. I don't know. I don't know where this analogy is going anymore, but like, it's almost like that comfortability of like, oh, Amazon, I know my product will get to me in 2 days. And I know that if I need to return my products, you guys will take care of me and so on and so forth. So they just do the best job treating the customer. Now, on the seller side, that might be a different story, but like, as a consumer, we do our research on Google and then we do our purchasing on, most often, Amazon. So they just built those platforms. Where's the education happen? Google. Like, I'm going to Google that. Like, that's a verb now. Like, awesome. Good for Google. But like, now Amazon's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to buy that on Amazon. Or, hey, can you get that? I don't know where to search for it. Oh, Amazon. Awesome. Cool. They have it. Buy it.
Yeah, no, that's and monopoly is an interesting word because I guess from a consumer mindset or consumer perspective, you would think that it is a monopoly, just like, they're expanding into Poland. And we were both talking to Christina yesterday, actually. And Christina was like, well, I know what Walmart is, but we don't have Walmart. We have Amazon. Everyone uses Amazon. Amazon is very successful in Germany.
Number 2 marketplace.
Yeah, and I know Japan, it's growing. Poland, they just launched, and you mentioned that it's one of the largest launches that Amazon has. Mm-hmm. But I guess I would personally still call it a monopoly. Why is it not a monopoly? Is it because they're not pushing these other players down? Is it because they're not restricting it? I know you don't want to call it a monopoly, but how isn't it a monopoly?
Well, think about it this way. U.S. perspective, maybe it is a monopoly because it was started here. This is where we go. My dog is barking in the background, so if you hear her,
I can't really hear.
She's dreaming right now, so she is woofing at something. Anyways, well, I think about it this way. So I think U.S. consumers and sellers are both two separate things, right? I think us in the United States, we think we're, like a better term, we're big shit, right? We think like everything revolves around the United States, but it doesn't. We're only 300 million people and the world has 9 billion people.
Yeah.
And if I live in South America, guess where I think is a monopoly? Mercado Libre, if I'm buying online. Like it's where you are in the world and what you're accustomed to. Now, that being said, like of global retail, like if you look at like global buying power, like US, like of course, is like number 1. So it skews in our favor quite heavily. But in terms of like people, like serving people, there's other marketplaces that have just as great, if not more, slices of people. Do they serve those people efficiently? Maybe not as well as Amazon does. They may not have the logistics chain. They might not have like the marketplace or the sellers and inventory, but they still serve a big amount of people. Now, can they grow in different international marketplaces? Of course they could. Is that to their benefit? Maybe. That's what you're seeing with like Walmart. Like they have to acquire a business like Flipkart because they are not going to build a platform from ground up. Like, why would they? Like, you just acquire it. And you have like Flipkart is the number 1 shopping app in India, and that serves 2 billion people, like the number 1 population in the world. Like, that's a monopoly if I ever said one. Like, of 2 billion people out of 9, like that's a monopoly if I ever heard one myself. Like, in terms of like servability and how you can touch those clients. Now, not all those people are going to have a phone. Not all those people can purchase online. But in terms of like market share or market capability, hell yeah, that's a big slice of like who you can serve. Just how like you look at platforms like subscribers. Like this is how Netflix is touting like how profitable they are, right? It's how many people are we serving? Like Netflix isn't its own monopoly. Like you have other offshoots like Disney Plus. They have their own marketplace. They're just in different arenas and you can get different content, get different goods. This is what I envision. Go back to what you envision. I think you'll start getting really more unique niches in terms of like, where do I go to buy my luxury goods? Where do I go buy my like, you see with Wayfair and Zulily, that's where you go to buy furniture. Awesome. We don't want any other shit. We just want furniture. Like, great. That's awesome. You figure out how do you best serve those people through your logistics system, do the best way that is possible for those goods and just dominate the market. Fantastic. You're gonna see more people with like luxury goods or like toys, things like that, like almost like a Toys R Us of online. But you'll start to see like offshoots of marketplaces and whatnot where you can start innovating and growing and whatnot. Like Amazon just happens to be the forefront of all this innovation. They just built out the network chain so quickly and so effectively first, and then that how many products can get on their platform, that was second. So no other business is doing that currently. But who knows? There's so many different things that can happen. Like who's in the most hands right now? It's social media. Like if you think about it, like who has the most eyeballs? It's social media companies. Like in different countries, like you're not vying for eyeballs right now. You have the audience. How do you figure out commerce on that level? I mean, there's like Facebook Marketplace right now. That's where a lot of commerce is happening on Facebook. But they start figuring out how to sell like goods like Amazon and logistics chain. Look out. Like if Facebook figure that out or they start building out their own network, look out. Serving your ads and also, so look at that. Yeah. So think about this. If you in Facebook natively, Instagram even does this too. Like natively, if you see a product, you click on it, takes me to a Shopify store and I can purchase all in one app. Like, and I can get it fulfilled from like the ecosystem that is Shopify. Game over. Like I have my built-in audience. I can just serve them ads. I can serve them products. And money can start transacting within my own ecosystem. So I don't have to pay third-party processors. Like they might buy a company might buy a ping pong or something like that and put it in their own ecosystem. This is not happening, but this is like, this is not breaking news. Like this is all speculation. Like for sake of it, we have an engine. They buy an engine, you put it in your own platform. You're like, hey, look, you can serve ads, you can buy your goods, and you can process it all in one platform. Like once someone figures that out, and then if they figure out their logistics chain, look out. Like that could be a big like disruptor.
I think Deliver, the one with 2 R's, they just got a huge round of funding. I think it was like 170 million just to try to figure out how to compete with Amazon Prime. I don't know. I know Best Buy uses them.
Yeah, Target.com. I mean, like that's the thing. Retail, like you can pick up same day in retail. Like, so here's the other thing where if Walmart just kind of figured out, like we are our own, like we have all these stores everywhere. We are our own warehouse. Like we have all this inventory on hand. Right. Why are we not fulfilling from our own stores? Duh. And like, why do we need almost like Jet.com? Like I remember when Jet.com was a very like big thing, like valuated at $2 billion and whatnot. And they bought him. And like, then they figured out we have our own like logistics warehouse. Like, how do we just get it to people? And like, that's the thing is like, no one understands how to get goods. They have the goods. How do you get it from point A to point B quickly? Amazon figured that out before everyone else. That's why they're just so successful. They're first to market. It doesn't mean that they'll be the best always, but they are first to market. And that always like has market share, like capital, like people have to take it away instead of like just absorbing it. Does that make sense?
It does, because I mean, I remember when I was a kid, obviously there wasn't Amazon, but we didn't really care about how quickly we were getting things. We were going to the store, hey, you needed batteries. I guess you had convenience stores at the time, but like if you had batteries, you could go to Walmart and get it for super cheap. That's going to be a little bit longer of a drive. Or you go to CVS down the street or a gas station, you could buy it for like twice the price. So I guess there was always that sense, but Amazon kind of elevated to another level where it's like, hey, we're going to get you this within the same day. You need groceries, you need toilet paper, you need batteries, whatever you need. You need Captain America books or posters. I see some in the background there.
Yeah, man.
Whatever you need.
So think about think about it this way too. We were talking about data the other day, just in general, and people are like, oh, targeting, like what's data? And like, retail stores have been like using our data against us for longer than Amazon's using it against us. And I say that for one reason. Think about your loyalty card. They have every single, like you willingly are like, I'm going to save like money. Like you don't know how much you're saving. Like they're just going to mark it at one point, but you're doing it because you're collecting what you as a customer are buying individually on every single trip, how much you're spending. They're building out your customer profile so they can serve you coupons to say, I know you need groceries now. I know I can dictate how often you are spending, and I can forecast when I can hit your mailbox with coupons and everything like that. And they're also doing with apps now. You can just buy on your phone and like scan it and whatnot. So they've been using your data, I say against you, like building up profiles with data before Amazon was even doing that. And then it was like Target, I believe, is they were sending specific catalogs to specific people because of their shopping habits. And they would be able to dictate this person is pregnant before they would like even like know, like I forget what book it was. It's not great. It's one of the recent ones I read, I believe last year. It was, they just had so much data and it can start disseminating when people needed their goods. And they're like, oh, I know you need groceries now, but I know also that you're buying baby clothes. So maybe we'll serve you some toys for an infant and stuff like that. And like coupons, or here's a great deal on these toys for 3 to 5 year olds. And people are like, what the fuck? Like, how does it know that? You have the data when you check out, like they're building customer profiles. And that's what loyalty profiles are for. That's where like points are. Like you as a customer getting something in return, but you're selling essentially your own data so they can build it out and best serve you goods. Because once you start saying, hey, if you're here for groceries, why don't you buy those batteries? Why don't you buy that pan that you need? It's a land grab. Like that's how they upsell you naturally. You just don't think about it. And that's what Amazon's doing too. That's why this frequently bought by sections is one of the only remaining organic placements on a listing. Everything else is an ad because they know for a fact, like if you're there for one thing, you might be there for another. And so like, how can we get you, the consumer, to spend more money with us as a seller? And that, like, it's all kind of this beautiful ecosystem that's scary and both scary and also wonderful as a consumer, because you almost like don't know yourself better than what these companies are. Like, you're like, you're right, Amazon, I am running out of toilet paper. Like, throw that in my cart. Like, what is it? Like, it's bananas.
Well, now you just subscribe to things too, right? I mean, dog food, I get this at the same time every single month. I know exactly how much dog food I'm going to pour. And they made a suggestion actually for us to upgrade because we were buying 2 of the little bags. And they're like, well, you could just buy this for a monthly 5% decrease. Just subscriptions and yeah, they capture everything. It's scary stuff. It's terrifying when you actually think about it.
I mean,
do you share a different opinion?
Well, no. It's not. You can say scary in multiple ways. Is it scary that someone can replicate you as a person and buy stuff? Yeah, of course. Like that's a scary thing. Do I think it's scary that I think there's a fine line, and this is the psychology of like what I love thinking about and love talking about with people, especially on the podcast or just in general. Like there's always this mentality of when I was first selling online, I was like, what is it making that people are purchasing? Is it a deal? Is it a coupon? Is it the actual product? Is it the time of year? There's so much that's going on as a customer. Like what is going on in their head that makes them say, I'm going to buy this button. I need this. Like there's a tipping point of like, that's cool. Awesome. Like I do that all the time. My wife, I go, look, this is neat. And she's like, but do you need it? And I go, no. And then I walk away. So like she's my,
I wish I had that restraint.
Well, I mean, when she looks at like our bank accounts and whatnot, and like, I have to say like, this is what I bought. Like my bad. But anyways, then you buy her something and then I'm always forgiven. Anyways,
the classic tale.
The classic tale. No, but like, what's the line in the sand, right? When is data used negligently against people? But when is it beneficial to you as a company to better serve the customer? That's the fine line that's constantly shifting back and forth that no one can really like say definitively. This is the point that once you cross this line, it's too much. Like it's no longer private. It's no longer beneficial to the customer. Like, do I want to be served products that might benefit me as a consumer? Yeah, of course. Like, I think that would be beneficial. Like, I don't know where to search. That might be on me and that might help me get to my journey quicker if I'm searching for something. That's cool. But if it's starting to like target me for like really malicious stuff, like tele robocalls and like surveys, and I get put on like email lists and like then becomes like almost like a political side of things. Like when you start to not opt into these things, that's when it's like dangerous, because if you start selling my information, that's when I have an issue. Does that make sense? Like selling my information is one thing, but if you're using it to better enhance my shopper experience, that's completely separate. I think that's where that line is for me.
But isn't that selling information when you get into things like PPC and you think about like keywords? And I mean, what's to stop them from saying, hey, this bundle of keywords we notice is trending. And if you wanted to target this specific audience, you can use all these different keywords. It's going to cost you this much, and you create all these different products. And they basically are forming these consumer habits for you. That's what terrifies me. I think it's a personal problem also, because I have very bad self-will to say no. So if I see something, I'm like, that's fucking cool, I'm gonna buy that. And then 3 days later, when Kate gets it, my girlfriend in Pittsburgh, she gets it and she's like, well, why'd you buy this? You got to return it. I'm like, no, you can't return it, I already got it. It's going to be more effort for me to return it than actually buying it itself.
It's already paid for.
Yeah, it's already paid for. It's
Don't
almost
worry
like a
about
gift to myself. Yeah.
Exactly. Well,
but
so I'll answer your question with another question. Are you already searching for that product or something like it in PPC? Are you already opting into something similar to that? And that's the whole point of PPC, right? People are putting ads. In theory, this is in theory. In theory, people are putting ads in front of people that are already searching for that product or something like that product. So in theory, is that a bad thing?
Again, I mean, that's a terrifying part, right?
That's the fine line. Is like, is it enhancing your experience, or is it what's the detriment of it? Is there a detriment to that? Like, besides
it's putting ideas in my head.
Well, right.
Yeah, but it's putting ideas in my head where like I didn't even know I wanted something, but now all of a sudden I want it because it looks cool. I'm looking for.
So if you look at it that way, so what about so this is the black hole I go down with people. What about television ads and whatnot? You don't need a car, but you see it all the time. You're just not paying attention to that ad at that point until you're opting yourself mentally into that marketplace, right? Then all of a sudden you see it everywhere. Even though it's consistent all the time, you start opting into that marketplace and that buyer mentality, and you're like, well, I'm already here. Like, this is cool. That's a nice car. And I really want to start doing more research. Oh, I saw a deal in this. Like, and then you go down the rabbit hole. You're opting into that marketplace mentally. So in theory,
I'm so terrified of it. It's not gonna. I see where you're getting at it, but like I try to be a little bit more conscious about it in regards to like I'm not going to search for something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know where we're at in time. Like I'm good until like the bottom of the hour, but like in terms of this, let's talk. Yeah, you can talk about the buyer's mentality a little bit more of what's the fine line, what's off limits. Then as a consumer, I'm curious what Lisa thinks on this. Like, what is off limits for a consumer? Like, this is not my show. This is your guys' show, but I'm not interviewing you. What's off limits for you as consumers? Like, what's the information? Mine's like social security number and like pretty private information, like birth date and stuff like that. If they use that against me, that's a no starter.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. Social security number, sensitive information like that is also off limits. But what I don't like, I kind of agree with you, Ryan. Like if you're searching for something and they're serving you ads that are, related to keywords for similar products, I'm cool with that. Like I kind of opened up that door. I opened Pandora's box. Mm-hmm. What I hate, and I know that it happens. I know that some people don't think that it does, but the phones are listening to you all the time. And you can't tell me they're not. I was watching a YouTube video with my dad of just like 20 cool gadgets or whatever. And it had a product come up and my dad said the name of the product out loud, Googled it on his phone. I never touched my phone, but 2 days later, I get a Facebook ad for that product on my phone. You're going to tell me they're not listening? They are. That is what bothers me more than anything, is that this thing is constantly listening and that they've strong-armed you into agreeing to let the microphone be running in the background for any of these apps that you have on your phone so that they can serve you this data, because if you don't agree to it, then you can't use the app. That's what bothers me. Yeah,
I agree. That's a fine line. That's a bothersome thing. I had the similar thing. I don't know if I was searching for it or whatnot, but I had a conversation with my neighbor who we just met and we were talking about lawn care, like very, I don't know, like boring stuff. Like, how do you treat your lawn care? Neighbor things to talk, like, how do you get your lawn so nice? Like, how do you get rid of all the weeds and stuff like that?
Yeah.
On Instagram, like maybe 2 days later, I started seeing a ton of ads. The first ad I saw was like Scott's, and they're like, hey, this is your like whole year plan. Like we can build it out for you. And I go, that's interesting. And I clicked on it and then I got more ads, but I don't know like how I first got served that as, if it's like time of year. I want to believe it's just time of year, and like that I've searched for like things like that in the past, and I just happen to be in their customer potential profile. But then also I think about like, maybe they did listen, and then I got served all these like lawn care ads, and it was a deep dark hole. But anyways, yeah, that's something too. Like, I don't like the voice stuff. There's a benefit to voice shopping. I think you'll start to see a lot more people voice shop, because there's pros and cons to it. Learning habits and things like that. You can opt out to it. Like, it's not it's very difficult to do, but you can opt out, like sharing information. Same on Facebook. Like, don't share this information with 500 companies that you can see on your profile. Like, this is who we share your information with. And you're like, dear God, like that's again, Amazon, or they try to do that fine line. Are they trying to curate best products for you? In theory, yes. in theory, do they want you just to click on it so they can get another 3 cents from their ad? 100%.
Yes.
So it's like, what's the fine line? Like, is it did they create a monster and like data is no longer, I mean, Nielsen's been around forever. Like you can shop like that's the other thing is like, if you think one company's bad, go back to like companies who have been doing this for decades, like the Nielsen ratings. Like, of course you can do customer profiles, their age range, their gender, their ethnicity, where they're located in the world. Like that's a customer profile. If I've ever seen one in my life, they're just getting more smart about like how they're capturing it. But it's a world that we live in, and like people could theoretically not opt into it. They don't have to use a smartphone. It's all.
But then you're weird.
Well, why are we weird then? Like, we'll get into the philosophy thing. Like, you don't have to be weird. Like, you can. I mean, you can clear your cookies. You can shop incognito. You have all these abilities to do it. Is it convenient? No, not anymore.
Yeah.
So that I mean. Do we think we were going down this road today? I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
This early in the morning.
We didn't talk too much about, well, actually, I guess we had a good chunk of international expansion. We talked about the different marketplaces, talked about Japan, talked about Poland. So at least we say it's somewhat on topic, which is a good goal, I think, to go by.
This is where I always go down. Like, it's my downfall. I always go down rabbit holes, and this is my wife and I's conversation, like every single like night. They're like, what about this though? And then we start to like ask each other questions, and it's a cycle, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Francois goes down rabbit holes a lot, and I'm here to keep him out of them, but clearly I'm failing.
Today was, an exception.
Today's the exception.
So, yeah. I mean, like, going back to our original point, like international expansion, like, again, I think my eyes have opened up for working with ping pong. Like, obviously, there's so much that's happened in the last year. That's kind of like, there's going to be so much opportunity that's just came from 2020, right? We talked about Clubhouse, like how people are interacting. We talked about how people are shopping and like will continue to grow. I always ask the question to people, and what in their mind, when did shopping online become a necessity and not more of a luxury? Does that make sense? Like, and I think 2020, everyone's like, I think this is the year that it happened. Like, everyone wasn't opting into buying a Prime subscription, paying $129 for the sake of potentially like down the road buying products on their platform to get it for free, quote unquote free. So I think a lot that has changed in the last year, but then you'll start to see like a lot of innovation come from it. Like logistics, I think will continue to innovate, like supply chain management, different marketplaces that ebbed and flowed and did a good job of like standing out. Like you're seeing the growth happen on like Etsy. Why is Etsy growing so much? Well, a lot of people are stuck at home, made their own products. Now they're selling online, or they lost their jobs. Now they have to get it out to a marketplace quicker. How are they doing that? Etsy. So again, there's lots of things that you see growth happening in areas that were just kind of like floating under the radar. People knew about it, but they're like, is it going to stay around? You're starting to see where the players kind of come to play, and where money's being now invested in, because it's not in retail too much anymore, but retail's starting to innovate and grow. I think I saw recently there's this tech company, it's all video shopping, right, at retail stores. And they're going to do this big event at Macy's, or I think a Macy's store in downtown, or like in Manhattan, or whatever that big Macy's flagship store is. And it's like the new QVC of like video shopping. So they're going to try it on. It's almost like Amazon Live. You can purchase it through there. All the brands, these top brands are participating, but it's through like you can host it and pay for it all in this like one integrated platform, which is kind of cool. But you'll see retail continuing to innovate. I mean, marketplaces like Walmart will grow. Target will continue to grow. Even though it's like 2,000 sellers right now, they're pretty like exclusive. But once people say like, hey, I want to sell my goods on Target, and a lot of people come to them, they'll open it up. Like, why would they not? Like, that'd be silly for them to. I mean, 2 years it's been on the market and it's exclusive, but that will grow. I think you'll see micro niche marketplaces start to really develop and grow. Commerce more and social media will be nice. And this is, I mean, all these places where you can actually make commerce happen. And this is back to my like why I started the show. Like, commerce is happening just in so many more places around the world, and just instead of brick and mortar stores. And why is that? Because there's innovation. People can build their brands. Like, think about the beautiful ways that people have been able to grow their business. It used to be just a mom and pop store that had like this really unique niche product. They're like, oh, like you should sell this around the world. They're like, well, how do I do that? Like now you can, like, and that's the crazy part is like, you can build a brand, something really neat. And like people around the world are buying it instantaneously, but lots of people are kind of like strong arming innovation and growth. But it's kind of enhancing those things of, well, you can build your own business online. And that's what I hate most about it, is having the thing of Jeff Bezos is getting all my money. No, like you're naive. Like 60+% of people are entrepreneurs online that are selling products legitimately out of their homes, or businesses have started their own companies through Amazon that are just innovating and selling in a marketplace. You don't know that because you don't look for it, or you're not intelligent enough to think about it. Yet you still go and purchase stuff there. Like when people say shop local, well, that is local in theory because your neighbor could be selling on Amazon. Your money's just not going directly to local, physical storefronts or infrastructure and things like that. And that's the difference, right? I'm not saying don't shop local. I'm saying don't stifle innovation either. So like you can be both places. So that being said, yeah, the growth will happen internationally. We were talking on the event last night, like international, like food, like grocery is growing and developing. There's medicine, like you're talking about Amazon, like you're going to get your pills, like, or like your medicines in logistics change, like how the United States government is now tapping into like all these different logistics companies. And now they're just distributing vaccines at I call it a crazy, like, I won't say warp speed because that was the name of a former program. So we're going to disseminate from that, like at a silly rate, right? Like they're using logistics and supply chain at an unrealistic level, or like I said, unrealistic, like an unheard of level if we were talking even like 3 years ago. And so like everything is constantly evolving and changing, as you guys probably see. It's how are we going to serve like healthcare better in all this innovation? And so that's kind of the beauty of this all, like out of this mess of like past year, what's going to innovate from here?
Well, and that's a lot of why we started this podcast in general, because what a lot of people think of e-commerce as, exactly as you said, is just, hey, I'm going to Amazon, I'm buying from Amazon. But even, when I talk to sellers and when Lisa gets to talk to a lot of the Facebook groups, I feel they don't necessarily associate that with supply chain. They say, oh, I'm just going to, run great PPC campaigns, or I'm going to improve my listings and optimize them, or I'm going to get better forecasts. But no one says, hey, we're going to talk about supply chain, because all e-commerce is a very efficient way to run supply chain and rely on just-in-time manufacturing. Right.
Yeah. Guys, we're not the sexy golden children of e-commerce. I promise you. Like, talking about finance and logistics, like in supply chain. You put us two in a room and we're like the party like killers basically. But
everyone wants to talk about research.
Well, and this is the other thing I think, like I've talked to like Barkus Patio of Helium 10. I go, this is the crazy like psychology. And then like I don't have to go down any more roads. I say, this is psychology. If you're saving money like instantaneously, like if I'm not going to get charged my card something, people are like, oh, that's great. Like 50% off. That's awesome. But if I'm telling you like I can save you percentage points on like your FX, or like tens of thousands of dollars and whatnot, people don't care about that because it's in theory. Like it's not getting taken away from me. I'm just keeping it. And why does one thing people are so passionate about, like saving $50 versus saving, or like keeping $50 versus saving thousands of dollars? Does that make sense?
Well, it's all
like,
psychology and training, right?
Bro, that's what I'm saying. It's like, why does
yeah. No one is going in a truck and shipping it for free because they have time in their day.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like the meme of like an Amazon seller can sell a good for $10.99, but like $2.99 shipping. So it's like $15, right? And people are like, no good. And then you could sell it for like even more expensive with free shipping. It's the same price, but people are like, oh yeah, free shipping. Like I'm in. Like people are weird.
It's because you feel like you win.
Yeah.
You feel like you win. You feel like you cheated somebody out of something, kind of. It's
well, and this is what I had to do is when I first started in e-commerce is in retail, or like we're selling goods, you can fluctuate the price so that when the coupon code adds it to your cart, you're still selling at the same price. They just feel like they're saving 20 to 30% off. Like I had that power to do it, and it made a buyer feel like they were getting a deal. Like, yeah, of course, like I was, manipulating a system, but everyone does that on a daily basis. Like, why do you think that people always have 40 to 50% off deals all the freaking time? Because they're marketing it up and then they're selling it, so they still make a margin. Like, it's only when they're like giving it away, essentially like 70, 80% off, that's when they're maybe recouping costs. But like, no one's ever giving you a deal. It's all the perception of a deal. Like free shipping, that's a deal. I mean, like, you're paying for something that someone doesn't have to, but it might be built into the price. Like, I can build that into a price all day and give you free shipping. Like, I just enhance my, or up my price online. I can give people an exclusive discount, but of like 20% off, but I'm capturing like your name, your email address, and I get your information for an exchange that you are still getting the same price of a product they can buy on Amazon. Stuff like that, where people are just not gaming the system, but psychology wise, the buyer's like, yeah, the buyer's like, oh yeah, like I'm winning. Like, I wouldn't, like, if I'm not spending my money now, I'm losing it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a weird, people fascinate me.
Goes back to that, the classic saying of nothing in life is free, right? As much as we can market it, as much as every company likes to tout it and advertise it, nothing in life is actually free.
Yeah. What are you exchanging? Your time, your information, money. Like, what are you actually giving them in return for it?
Right. But on that note, believe it or not, we have gone over an hour and 20 minutes, and I feel like I could talk to you for another 2 hours.
I would love to. I have a webinar I have to talk about in terms of like localization and stuff like that in half an hour or so.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely let you go. I want to have you back on because, as cliche it is, you do have a beautiful mind and you do know a lot of this shit very well because you've been involved in e-commerce for so long. So I'd love to have you back on, Ryan, sooner rather than later. I really do appreciate your time. If anyone wants to find you or Ping Pong or your CrossoverCommerce, where can they find you?
Yeah. So CrossoverCommerce, like I said, we go live on our social channels 4 to 5 times per week. So if you follow any Ping Pong payments, social media channels, you'll be able to see my beautiful face pop up there. We also have a page that we created on Facebook. It's CrossoverCommerce with Ryan Cramer. Go and give that a follow because I'm also putting more information like articles I'm finding on e-commerce on there, information about Amazon, but just across the board. What I find personally, this is kind of my own page that I've created. So I'm doing that, and then just search for that on Facebook. But you can follow myself on LinkedIn, Instagram, now on Clubhouse? ?
Yeah.
At Ryan Cramer on Clubhouse. Like, let's all bring it back to Clubhouse. But yeah, just sharing knowledge in terms of what I'm seeing around the world and what other people do. It's not like regurgitating it. It's like understanding more of a beautiful picture that people are painting and understanding a little bit better. Like, again, you don't have to be a seller to know what you're talking about. I'm going to tell people that too. You don't have to be an Amazon seller or to sell 6, 7, 8 figures to know that what successful sellers can do or e-commerce companies can do online. That's a myth. Like, I don't know what came up, like why people said you have to be a 6 or 7 figure seller in order to understand what you're talking about. That's not true.
I love that. No, I love that. Well, thank you again, Ryan. We'll let you go. And thank you to everyone that listened today. My great co-host, Lisa, our amazing guest, Ryan. Got it right this time, Lisa. Thank you all again for joining us on another great episode of Link Up Leaders, where we talk all things supply chain and e-commerce. And today we had this amazing guy, Ryan Cramer. Make sure you guys give this another listen, share, follow, smash, like, whatever it is on the social media.
Right there.
It's
right there.
Somewhere.
Probably right there.
Probably right. Yeah.
That button right there in the bottom. That's where the bell is. Make sure you get reminded every time I go live.
Ryan knows more than us. So I appreciate it again, Ryan. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much.
Guys.